we're human, we're going to be affected by the things that happen to us.
Mhm.
Um, but again, relationships are a space of practice and of honoring who we are. So I want you to, those listening, to really just give yourself the space. Like, don't look at relationships as an opportunity to perform perfection. Nobody, no, we're not looking for that. We're not looking. Just please be who you are. Give who you are to the world, because there are people who are ready to love someone like you.
Welcome to the Mighty Emotions podcast. I'm your host, Giselle. I'm a certified emotions coach, and I teach you how to respond better to your emotions so you can feel better in your life. My mission is to show you how to work with your emotions to become more emotionally resilient. Your emotions are not designed to overpower you, they're designed to empower you. On this podcast, I share what our emotions are, how to understand them and work with them, and the tools you need to reclaim your power and get unstuck from emotional pain so you can find fulfillment in your life again. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get into the episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Mighty Emotions podcast. I am so happy to have my beautiful friend, Tyler, the heart softener, Ty the wordsmith, on all platforms, on as my guest today. Thank you for being here, Tyler.
Of course, Giselle. Thank you for having me. I'm a major admirer of your work, so it means a lot to be here.
Oh, friend, I admire your work too. That's why you're here. And I'm so glad we're getting all mushy and lovey because that is what we are here to talk about. Today, we're going to be talking about relationships and love. And I thought no better person to come on and talk about it than you, Tyler, because your message is so potent when it comes to encouraging people to love and to not close themselves off and to close their hearts off. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So I want you to tell the people who you are.
Absolutely. So introductions are hard still for me because I'm like, what do I call myself? But but I think overall, like, heart softener is the most resonant for me. It, like you said, it's all about, keeping the heart open, keeping it soft, keeping it flexible, if you will, and not closing ourselves off to life's experiences. And really that came to me because I remember specifically, like, almost asking God to close my heart off as I was going
Mm,
through tough times, right? Like, I was like, why can't I be colder? Why can't I be, just this closed off person? I don't want to experience the pain that I've experienced anymore, right? But it seems like no matter what I go through, no matter how hard I try to turn cold, it's just not what I'm supposed to do, you know? It's just not what I'm supposed to do. So I'm like, well, if I am going to be this way, there has to be a way to honor my heart instead of constantly putting it in danger or not really knowing what it looks like to protect it. So a lot of my work is around, still embracing your full loving self, but how do you do that in a way that is wise? How do you do that in a way that takes into account your experiences and helps you move forward in a more protective way, really? So,
wow. Wow,
yeah.
my whole body is just resonating with these words. I literally had someone say to me this week or last week, uh, that I need to be more detached. I need to be less sensitive. And
Mm,
I feel like that is such a common thing that people who are more sensitive and who do feel more deeply go through. And I love that in
yeah.
our work, we're like, nah, boo, be be you, be human. It's okay. And there's a way to be that way and be safe. So I
Yeah.
love the way you
Mhm.
explained it. And you are so good with words. So I want you to tell us more about like your own experience with that because for everyone that is in a supporting role in a service role there's a
Mhm.
history, there's a story, there's a reason that you came to this and you shared about a little bit about it, but why do you support people? Why do you put that out in the world? Why is that so important to you?
Yeah, so I mean, first and foremost, I am a writer, I am a communicator. That's just the way that I've kind of found my own comfort, right? Like if I didn't always feel safe in communicating to someone, I was like, well, I feel safe talking to me, So I would start journaling or audio journaling, as I like to call that. But really just building a safe relationship with myself. And that was required. I mean, that saved me because I felt like so many times I felt like I was misunderstood or I was too sensitive for the world or I was out of place or something. But I'm like, no, that's not right. Cause I'm obviously here. So like I gotta be here for a reason. So like, what is that? And I went through a couple of different painful experiences as I was growing up. I mean, trigger warnings here, but I've endured some sexual assault situations. I have
Mm.
endured just being called too sensitive or weird because I think so deeply about things. Even as a younger child, it was just like, why are you thinking like that? Like,
Mm.
just be a kid, And there were, I feel like to an extent, I didn't really get to be a child because I was so like I just came out the womb trying to solve problems or
Mhm.
you know, trying to figure things out. But I say all that to say, from day one, I have been a lover. And even despite my experiences of feeling out of place, dealing with being bullied, wanting to be the peacemaker, but sometimes being shut out because of that, right? Like just these different experiences that caused me to experience some shame and carry that into adulthood. And I'm like, you know what? Regardless of where I end up or how I do it, I want the message to be very clear. We deserve love. We deserve love. There's no
Mhm.
question about it. No matter how different we think we are, we deserve love. And, it started with that journey of exploration of self. Like, okay, well, what is this? It's here, and
Mm.
maybe that person over there and this person over here won't accept it, but I have to. I need to face this. I need to explore this. And so essentially today, what I do is I help other people to not feel alone in that exploration. I help people understand that it's safe to kind of dig into the spaces that you still feel pain. It's okay to have a big heart, but again, how can we do this in a safe way, knowing the world that we live in, knowing that we can't control other people, knowing that we can't even control our upbringing sometimes, right? Like
Mhm.
how do we still walk away knowing like, okay, but I'm still worthy, So I take people through that kind of transformation, really, of all right, there was a problem with me, or there's this thing I need to be first before I can be loved. And it's like, nah, you was always meant to be loved. But let's kind of rewrite your story. Let's do it from here.
Wow, yes. Oh my gosh. The 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 gems that were just dropped. I'm so grateful that you shared all of that because me listening to that, I'm like, I completely resonate with this idea that I gotta be somebody first before I can receive love, and having
Hmm.
gone through different challenges and relationships and carrying that shame that so many of us don't even realize is shame. Like, how were you able to
Mm.
recognize that what was showing up for you was shame?
I mean, because I mean, I've gone through therapy, right? So that was a huge tool for me throughout
Mm.
my. So I started therapy as a child, so like I've been in therapy for years. But one key thing that I remembered differentiating was like there's a difference between guilt and shame, right?
Mhm.
Shame is like there's something wrong with me, right? Guilty is like, okay, I feel bad because I did something, but you're not necessarily identifying with that thing. Shame is more so like identifying, like, oh, there's something wrong with me because I am like this, or I enjoy this, or I don't enjoy that, or whatever, right? And so I just realized I kept identifying with the negative things that people had said about me or the negative things that had happened to me. I was building a story around that. And that shame was experienced in my body. It was experienced in all of my stress and tension. It was experienced in the way that I show up in the world. Am I showing up confidently like I want to be here or not? When
Mm.
really leaning into that shame, oh my goodness, you could see it. You could really see it. And so, but that's how I knew, it's because I was identifying with it. I was saying, I am a problem. There is something wrong with me. I am this shame. I couldn't see beyond that really. So
Mm.
I had to dig myself out, but that's how I knew, is because I'm like, oh, I'm saying there's something wrong with me as a human being.
Yes, thank you so much for that very, very clear and honest description. For the listeners, we talk about emotions and the difference between guilt and shame, as you said, and you put it so eloquently. It's that identification that shame is attached to, I am wrong, not I did something wrong. And it can be
Mhm,
so easy to feel that when we've been bullied and when things have happened to us that we don't have an explanation for.
mhm,
As children, it's like, well, this person hurt me. Well, why? Well, I can't find any other reason, so it must be me,
mhm,
and some kind of flaw with me. So getting support, as you talked about, to unpack that is so, so important. And that's why, you're here, why I'm here, why there are people who want to support you and want to give you that space where you can start to see the stories that you're creating. Because when we're in it, we can't really see the stories, right?
mhm,
So
yep.
that's beautiful. And when we are moving through the world with shame and we're trying to navigate relationships, either the relationships we have no choice but to have, like our family or the people that are around us, or new relationships that we're trying to cultivate, like how does shame show up and impact those interactions and like how those relationships form or don't form?
That's a great question. I would say that, I mean, it stifles it overall, to put it simply.
Mm,
Like, it stifles my expression, right? Because if I'm carrying this shame and I'm kind of laser focused on that, I'm not allowing myself to be free and to be vulnerable in
mm,
these relationships. And vulnerability is the key to intimacy, right? So like,
yes.
no, no walls are being broken down when we're leaning into that one thing. Speaking from personal experience, yeah, like I I'm trying to think of what story to tell here. I'm like, which
There's so
direction
many.
can I go? Because when you said, relationships and emotions, I was like, oh, this is so perfect, because I'm in a very reflective period with both of
Mm,
these things specifically. I'm leaning all the way in. But
yes.
but I would say shame, it can stifle the way that we show up in our relationships, because we're so worried about being wrong that we're not being ourselves, you know? And
Yes.
and I think that's just required if we want any level of intimacy in a relationship. If we want people to really truly see us, I think sometimes, at least speaking from my own experience, like recently, I was just struggling with being vulnerable in my relationships because of what I went through at the end of last year. Just a lot of separation, a lot of breakup, a lot of grief.
Mm,
Um, and I was, for a period of time, it was kind of like, okay, well, there's something wrong with you because these things ended. I had to kind of deal with that again, because that's a core wound for me. Okay.
mm,
That is a core, like abandonment and things like that. That's a core wound for me. So I do have the tendency early on to kind of blame myself. But I noticed, like, when I was sitting in that, instead of, like, for example, leaning on friends who wanted to be present for me and kind of talk me through these situations, I was like, well, no, because I'm going to be a problem for them too, and they're not going to want to hear about it. And
mm,
so I'm literally blocking myself off from this connection that's here, because I'm so into the shame. And that's not to judge myself. Like, I had to have my space. I had to do that at the time. But we have to realize how that does impact our relationships. There are people who are just waiting to be present for you, but if you can't see you clearly, how do you recognize that that's what they're doing?
exactly. Yes. And shame is one of my favorite emotions because it was only when I truly understood shame that I started to love myself because I realized that shame was this messenger. It was this notification of the
Mm-hmm.
crap I was carrying about my identity, right? All the
Mm-hmm.
things I had picked up, all the things other people had told me I was, all the things the media had told me I was. And I wasn't actually being intentional and being clear with myself and connecting to myself, right? That self acceptance was missing. And so shame was there to kind of get me uncomfortable enough to look at the fact that, yeah, that need for self-respect, that need for self-acceptance wasn't being met because of all those stories that I was carrying from other
Mm,
people. So it is that element of like understanding that shame and understanding how it's almost telling us, what is your opinion of yourself? Like what do you
mhm,
think of you? You know,
mm,
and instead of waiting for everyone else to say, oh, this is Tyler, this is Giselle, this is, it's like, no, well, I get to create myself. And I think that's the most beautiful part of doing that work, that reflective work, like you're talking about, is you get to
mhm.
be more intentional. And I love when you said vulnerability is the key to intimacy,
Absolutely.
because it absolutely is. And it's absolutely such a trigger for people to be
Mhm,
vulnerable
mhm.
when they've been hurt, like you shared, right? So, how do you navigate the fear that comes up after you've had the abandonment and that wound has been triggered so that you can actually have these beautiful relationships?
Yeah. That's a tough one because it's still in practice for me. But I want to admit that this is not something that you have to get right, quote unquote, right away,
Mm,
right? You can allow yourself to have the waves and to have the experience of not getting it right, whatever that means. So like for me, I had probably about a 4-month period where I was just super, super guarded and like
mm,
I knew logically, like, okay, that you want connection. So why would you do this? Right. But my emotional self and my spirit was like, listen, I'm wounded. Like, hold on,
mhm,
So it was like, we can't really move too fast. It's okay to have the time of wanting to isolate a little bit. This is where we have to ask the questions. Okay, what happened before? What can we do different next time? Or, what can we require different next time, for example, as we speak about relationships. What can we communicate differently next time, for example? But
mm,
I had to have the space to explore that on my own. I feel like before going back into the setting of a relationship, of any type, right? I was having moments of questioning friendships and questioning like if I'm gonna be honest. Okay.
yes.
I was having a time where I was like, yo, I think I'm about to just cut everybody off and go away somewhere. I really did. I really did. Cause I was so hurt. But you know
Mm,
what? We're allowed to be hurt. Let me just say that. Okay.
yes.
We're allowed to be hurt. But again, I will say I'm thankful for the other part of me that knew, like, hey, okay, you can have your moment, but also remember, like, we don't want to block off what we truly want. So I say that to say, have your time of, you know, feeling the shame or feeling the discomfort or having to recover in any way. But then eventually you're going to have to put it into practice, right? There's no way I'm going to be able to experience the relationships that I desire if I don't try again, you know?
Mm,
So after that 4-month period of like, no, I don't want to deal with anybody, I quit, whatever. I had my little moment and then I said, okay, it's time to put this back into practice. It's time to be vulnerable, piece by piece. You don't have to go all the way in,
mhm,
but you can kind of see like how much of myself do I feel comfortable sharing. How much does this person deserve, in a sense? Like, not everybody can be as close to you, and that's okay to honor as well.
mhm,
But you have to get real with yourself, right? um so yeah, after that 4-month period, I started to kind of gently like reach back out to people, and I would even admit like, hey, I'm honestly experiencing some trust issues right now. I'm doing my best. Work with me. Like, this is what,
mm,
and I was just like, I don't have nothing to lose. Like, let me be honest about that with people. And thankfully a lot of people were like, well, hey, I get that. I don't take it personal. What can I do to help this? So I'm deeply grateful for that, because that just, serves as kind of validation of like, okay, it's okay for me to kind of move forward. Somebody who offers that safety for you or ask, like, what can I do? that is super helpful. But even if you don't have that, I say all that to say the only way you're going to be able to grow in relationships is by engaging in relationships. So I think it's about accepting like, okay, I don't know, I don't necessarily know what's ahead. There's a chance that I could be disappointed again or hurt again, or I could feel this, whatever the emotion is, I might feel it again, but also I might feel something different.
Mm.
You know, I might experience something different. So let me be open to that. So I hope that answered your question. I was getting long-winded, but
No, that was
no.
beautiful. That was beautiful, and for sharing your honesty. Like that's the vulnerability piece, right? Is being
Mhm,
honest
mhm.
about what we're struggling with and what we're going through, because I know in my work, and you hold space for people too, so maybe you notice this pattern, but relationships tend to be the biggest source of emotional distress for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's when all of the kind of cry. I was helping a client over the weekend, and it's like all of the emotions tend to come up when it comes to relationship dynamics, right?
Mhm.
And so just knowing that, yeah, they're gonna come up. Yeah, it's gonna come up again, but it doesn't need to just be negative, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
need to just be difficult. We can open ourselves up to experience beautifulness in relationships. Like we have been able to connect, you and I. I'm so grateful, because you just have this loving, caring energy that I think a lot of people, even if they stifle it because of that shame or that
Mhm.
fear of being vulnerable. And it's not
Mhm.
like you're not going to be excited to show up like that all the time because you don't know if you're going to be rejected or if you're going to be hurt, right?
Mhm.
But like you
Mhm.
said, the way the way to have healthier relationships is to engage in relationships,
Yeah, for
right?
real.
Is to expose yourself. And the thing I notice about you is that I think what really helps you kind of move through that fear or come out to the other side is you having an understanding of what's really important in the
Mm,
bigger scheme of things. Like what's really important, which is love, which is having, you know, being your authentic self, I should say,
mhm.
showing up as who you truly are, honestly. Would you agree
Absolutely.
with that?
Absolutely, 100% because I mean, the self-acceptance is helpful in every area of life, but also like there are literally, I believe this wholeheartedly, there are literally people who are waiting to meet someone just like you, you know? And so if you're, running away from who you are or not embracing who you are, you could be missing out on the people who are so excited to actually embrace you. And so I say that to say, we can't really, now we can't lose hope, but we shouldn't lose hope,
Hmm.
when we do endure, the painful things or uncomfortable things, because they're also a space for practice, like
Yes.
even when things don't go well in our relationships, there's a space for practice. There's space for growth. Everything doesn't have to feel good, quite frankly. Like,
Right? That's
you know,
it.
it really doesn't. But if you've got perspective, you've got a lot. If you've got the tools to connect with yourself emotionally, which is why your work is amazing, Giselle. But like if you have that, I feel like you're pretty solid. You're in a good space.
That is how we create resilience. That is how we create resilience is by having that ability to take care of ourselves and move through those
Hmm.
moments. It's a space for practice. I love that so, so much. And talking about tools and
Hmm.
navigating this, what are the tools that you share with your clients in your community that have helped them or helped them navigate these challenges?
Yeah, like specifically in relationships or more so the
Yeah,
relationship itself.
yeah, just in, how you support people navigating all of these things that come up, like having difficulty being vulnerable and, maybe not wanting to get hurt again. And how do you
Mm.
help them open themselves up to life and soften their heart in that way?
Absolutely. One of my favorite tools across the board is very simple, but it is very effective. Journaling, whether it's physically writing things down or audio journaling. I will emphasize audio journaling for the purposes of today. Audio journaling is incredible because you can hear your own you can hear your own reflections, right? You can truly hold space for yourself in that way. And it, of course, it's healing for the throat chakra, right? You might be, for example, used to suppressing how you really feel or not really wanting to address it, but speaking it out, that gives it kind of some space to go. That gives you, it gives you just that familiarity with speaking your truth. And that, of course, breeds connection with self. And I feel like the way to lean into your relationships more is by feeling safe within yourself, right? I think there are
Yes.
sometimes things that happen to us that make us feel disconnected from ourselves, that make us feel like we can't even be emotionally available for us.
Mm.
But journaling helps me and my clients get back into that space of like, no, I deserve to be able to reflect on this. I feel, I think, and this is what is real for me. So let me give space to that. You know, it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. This makes sense to me, you know? So giving them room to deeply connect with themselves. And then I would also say meditation because first of all, it's just very healing and calming to the
Mm-hmm.
physical body. And we know that emotions, literally, you know, the energy in motion, um,
Mm-hmm.
it helps us to be present with them, right?
Yes.
The breath work, the visualization, even the just bringing the awareness to your breath in your body can really help you understand, okay, what center is affected here? You know,
Mm.
what do I need to send some more love to? Where do I need to send some more breath to? That is a really effective practice for me. And then so let's see, journaling, meditation. Hmm. Affirmations as well, and not just your I am loved, I am well. Those are great, but but I work with my clients really specifically to get down to just really intentional affirmations that speak to them. So for example, if I am not feeling my best today, I'm not going to be like, okay, I'm so excited for this day. Like, okay, maybe I'm not. Right? Like maybe I'm not, but you know, the affirmation instead could be, you know, I'm here, I have breath in my body, I am capable of doing anything I want today. That's enough to get me started, right? It doesn't have to be like, okay, it's going to be the best day ever. Okay, maybe I don't feel like that, like that's fine. but but let me get real with myself and actually just nudge myself in the direction of opening up to different possibilities here, right? Because what I don't want to do is claim like, it's going to be a terrible day. It doesn't have to be. Hold on. You know, it doesn't
That's an
have to.
affirmation too.
You know, and listen, we definitely hold space for the quote unquote negative side of things. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm big on expressing complaints. I don't even like the word complaining because I
Right?
feel like we need the room to express our dislikes and our disgust and everything. It's fine. It really is
Yes.
okay. But in the form of just trying to be constructive and move into a different space, yeah, I feel like just creating those more intentional affirmations are super helpful. So that's an exercise I do with my clients as well. Those are the main three things: meditation, journaling, and really intentional affirmations.
I just love, love, love the way you describe those three things because I think there's a lot of talk online about meditating, journaling, affirmations, and there's more than one way to apply these tools, right? So I love
Mhm.
the way that you specifically, I mean, the audio guys, go back and listen to what Tyler is saying about the audio journaling because yes, the
Mhm.
power of that, of expressing yourself honestly to yourself and hearing
Mhm.
it and holding space for like nothing can strengthen a relationship more than having that practice with yourself first, because
Absolutely.
when you have challenges and you need to communicate with the other person, but you're not used to actually you've never practiced speaking up or saying what you honestly feel or being vulnerable in that way. So the audio journaling, amazing tool.
Yeah.
The
Oh, I want
meditation.
to.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
I want to emphasize one more thing about the audio journaling too. Like Sometimes it helps me laugh at myself. This is just an extra little note, right? Okay, it's like, so say for example, one night I'm crying my eyes out. I'm in the midst of emotion. I'm recording it. It's happening,
Mhm.
right? All the way in. Then a couple months later, I go back and listen to that, and I'll be like, "Girl, you was really hurting, wasn't you?" And not laugh at me like I obviously was in my feelings. Like it's okay.
Mhm.
So I'm not laughing from judgment. I'm laughing from like, oh wow, like you were experiencing the full range of this. Like you were really
Yes.
all in it. And that's a beautiful thing. So you don't have to carry no shame. Look at you. Look at you feeling your full spectrum
Yes.
of emotions. Like I go back and I listen to old recordings and I be in awe of myself. So I say that to say it can really help you appreciate your sensitivity and your expression.
Mm.
I know some people listen back and be like, oh, that's cringe. When you start to do it as routine and you just kind of put the pieces together and be like, okay, 3 months ago I felt like this, and today I feel like this, and you
Mm.
just really hold that space for yourself, your relationship with self improves drastically. That was really what helped me start being able to be more honest with me and in my relationships.
Yeah, oh, wow. I mean, just witnessing yourself and giving yourself that need, like all of us need to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. And to be able to do that with yourself first is so powerful because then it becomes less important whether or not the other person is doing that, right? It's still
Mm-hmm.
important, but then it's not feeling trying to fill a void because you know how to give that to yourself. So I love that. I
Thank
love
you.
that. Yes, and Tyler's meditations are beautiful, very soothing. You you have a way with words, Tyler Wordsmith, it's not a coincidence. And it just really helps you gain perspective, which is what I think meditation is really about, is
Mm-hmm.
that grounding, is that being present. So the fact that you use these tools, you don't just like tell people do this, like you do it first, you lead the way,
Mm-hmm.
which is so,
Absolutely.
so important. I really want to talk about your membership, your
Yeah.
community, because if people like what they're hearing right now, and I feel like they will, they need to check this out because there's so much more that can come from this. So Tyler has a community called Mind Your Magic,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a community for the lovers, the seers, and the doers. And if you're somebody that's really feels really deeply, feels really strongly, wants to embrace that about yourself instead of
Mhm.
constantly trying to run from it, I feel like this is a space for that. Am I right?
Absolutely, it is. I mean, this is the ultimate space for recognizing that you are not a problem, you never were. And how can we like use your sensitivity as the gift that it is going forward? This is a space to actively write your story, right? Sometimes
Mm,
things happen to us and we forget we still hold a pen in our hands, you know, we forget that we can build resilience. And so this is a space for that. And you're supported, by the other community members. So there are monthly lessons. We'll talk about things such as self-forgiveness and confidence and embodiment. I mean, the topics range, but they're super, super impactful. We also have community calls where we literally share kind of what we're working on right now internally, uh, just sharing how we're showing up in the world, supporting each other in doing so. And of course, there are other perks such as, merch discounts, discounts on private coaching with me. And it's just a beautiful, safe space. I mean, we started the beginning of this month. It's already been a month. That's
it's crazy.
the time
Congratulations.
flies. The time flies. Thank you. But yeah, so we're really just getting started. And I mean, the ideas are flowing inside the community. You can also get exclusive energy readings, which I don't currently offer to the public, but
Mm.
that's been going really well. And yeah, I love what I do. So if this sounds like something for you, like check it out. Check me out. Let's talk.
I highly, highly, highly cosign, recommend. The link will be in the show notes, guys. I know firsthand that support groups and places where you can just go and offload and not be
Mm,
judged and not have anyone trying to fix you, but just giving you that space, holding that space for you. We can't
mhm.
all go to therapy as much as we would love to.
Yeah.
We can't all get that one-on-one support, but it's almost better sometimes to be held by the group and to know that what you're going through, somebody else has gone through, or
Yeah.
somebody else is also going through, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
there aren't a lot of spaces like this. So I'm so happy that you created this safe space. And like I said, Tyler is so good at holding space and making you feel safe. So I know it really is a magical space that you've created, Tyler. So
Thank
what Yes, of course. And I really want you to let the people know kind of what you think is the biggest gift about this community. Like if you had to just say like this is the one really powerful thing that you can get from this community, what would that be?
Oh my goodness. That is a wonderful question. Okay, give me a second.
Mhm.
The most important thing coming from the community. Ooh, I feel like it's so like just the connection itself is super powerful, but
Mm.
there's something else. I really think like honestly, reflection. Like you will be able to see yourself clearly by joining this community, you know? And what I mean by that is this is a space for you to literally cut through the noise that you have been fed, cut through the noise that is still existing today on social media, online, everywhere. Like this is for you to truly discover who you are, accept who you are, and love who you are. And
Mm.
support in doing that. So I say all that to say reflection and just finally seeing yourself clearly for the first time.
Oh, it's so powerful and it's such a full circle because that's what helps us navigate the shame. That's what
Mhm.
helps us develop that deeper relationship with ourselves. And this space, if relationships is something that you struggle with, this is what you need. You need a space where you can build healthy relationships with people,
Yes.
right? And you
Yeah.
can have supportive connections.
Yes.
So, I mean, it makes complete sense that you would create this space, honestly. It's
Thank you.
it makes so much sense. It is it's so aligned.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you so much for your vulnerability, your willingness to share honestly that, you know, the journey isn't perfect. It's not
Mhm.
linear,
Mhm.
Even when we have the tools, life can really force us to exercise them,
Yeah, yeah, it can.
right? It's like, "Oh, I thought I could. Oh, okay, life. This is what I'm getting thrown." But you can make it back. You can make your way back, and that's what this podcast is
Yeah.
about that building that resilience and building that willingness to face your emotions again and again and learn that you are safe with them and you can get to the other side of them. And yeah, I'm just really grateful that you came to talk to the people today, Tyler.
Yes, thank you. No, this has been amazing and it was really perfect timing because I just as scared as I may have recently of, connecting with people and rightfully so. Like again, I want
Mhm.
to emphasize that it's okay to acknowledge the damage that has occurred. There's nothing wrong with that. We're human, we're going to be affected by the things that happen to us.
Mhm.
Um, but again, relationships are a space of practice and of honoring who we are. So I want you to, those listening, to really just give yourself the space. Like, don't look at relationships as an opportunity to perform perfection. Nobody, no, we're not looking for that. We're not looking. Just please be who you are. Give who you are to the world because there are people who are ready to love someone like you, whether that's platonic, romantic, familial, whatever. Like people are ready to love you truly. So I just want to emphasize that and thank you again, Giselle, because this has been beautiful and reflective, and I just love everything that you do. So I appreciate being able to contribute to the space.
Oh, thank you, friend. That was
Of course.
beautiful. Please tell the people everything will be linked below, but please let the people know where they can connect with you.
Yes, so I'm on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram at Ty the Wordsmith. And I also have a website, tylerwardsmith.com. So updates are there as well. I'm on YouTube.
We are in
Trying to
all the places.
listen, I'm trying my best. I try to be consistent, but bear with me if I'm not. I also have like a newsletter and things, but just check out my social media. I'm always updating there. And yeah, I cannot wait to connect with more of you soon. This is beautiful work, and we deserve to live beautiful lives, and this work is part of it.
Yes. And Tyler and I have also done an episode for her podcast, the Nude
Yeah,
Podcast.
yeah,
So I will link our episode below in the show notes as well, because that's kind of when we first connected. And I'm just so grateful for how our relationship has blossomed and how we're able to support one another and yeah, be real with each other and connect over our shared values of love being important and caring being important and being that
absolutely.
example.
Absolutely. I just have to thank you here again, Giselle, for being vulnerable yourself and for showing up for this work, because I know it's not always easy, but we're doing really important things here. So thank you.
Yes. So you guys go to the show notes, connect with Tyler, check out her supportive community membership, and get yourself the support you need so that you can reconnect and build healthier relationships in your life. I hope this episode was supportive for you. And if it was, please share, leave a review. Let me know on Instagram what you thought of the episode. If you want another episode with Tyler, we can arrange that.
Yes,
um,
you can.
just let me know and we'll be more than happy to do that. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to be gentle with yourself, and I will see you on the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It would mean so much if you could subscribe, leave a review, share with your friends and family, and let me know what you think by going to my Instagram at mighty_emotions and connecting with me and letting me know what you loved about today's episode. It really means a lot that you support this podcast, and I love coming to you each week with a new episode. So be sure to subscribe, let me know what you think, and take care of yourself.